From Chiang Mai in the north of Thailand, we're going to Phuket, which is down in the south of Thailand. Phuket is actually an island, the largest island in Thailand, and it's just off of the mainland. Phuket is Thailand's most famous and popular tourist attraction. It has wonderful beaches, and we're going to be taking a Chinese junk on a cruise through the Andaman Sea. The Andaman Sea is an arm of the Indian Ocean. Some of the most beautiful scenery in Thailand is in this neighborhood. It should come as no surprise then that the Andaman Sea was also used as a movie set. In the James Bond story, Tomorrow Never Dies, they start out in Bangkok, but eventually they move out here to Phuket, and they also get on a Chinese junk.
It's mostly dull routine, of course.
In fact, the movie uses the same Chinese junk that we're on. There are 3 junks called the Jun Batra, and all 3 of them are sailing at the same time to the same place. But we are on the original Jun Batra, the one that was actually in the movie Tomorrow Never Dies. We're sailing northeast away from the island of Phuket out into the bay. We are sailing towards 2 small islands. One's named Koh Tapi, or Nail Mountain, and the other one is Koh Khao Ping Kan, or the Leaning Island. Now, both of these islands are very interesting, and they're the most popular islands in the Andaman Sea with tourists. Here's something we'll be doing shortly. It's sea kayaking. We're going to be getting a sea kayak just like these and sailing around some islands. Notice the overhang here. These islands are limestone and they're being eaten away very quickly by the sea. These islands were featured in the James Bond movie The Man with the Golden Gun. They're Scaramanga, the bad guy's hideout. The movie The Man with the Golden Gun opens on this island at Scaramanga's hideout. Now you can see why this small island is called Nail Mountain, and you can see why it's so popular with the tourists. Tourists tend to call this island James Bond Island, and that is the way that it is in most of the literature. Usually you see boats moored up kind of like cattle trucks, and this island is full of people and people hawking various kinds of concessions. There are 10 stalls that sell trinkets. In the movie, this island is not supposed to be in the Andaman Sea. Instead, it's supposed to be in Chinese territorial waters, and the Chinese are protecting the bad guy.
There's a small seaplane approaching your island. Do you want us to take any action?
James Bond's weather always seems to be fair, but ours has not been. Here in Phuket, we're near the end of the rainy season, near the end of the monsoon, but it still rains nearly every day, at least for a few minutes. The result is that we've only been able to use the sail periodically, and even then we only had one of the two sails up. It's a wonderful feeling to be under sail. I love shutting down the engines and depending on the wind for power. In the movie Tomorrow Never Dies, James Bond goes scuba diving with a Chinese intelligence agent. Now, early on in the movie, James Bond had told her that he was an investment banker, and that was part of his cover. But as they surface from the scuba diving, you're going to be able to tell quite plainly that they are in the Andaman Sea.
Still interested in hostile takeovers?
It's the opportunities for travel that I like best about banking.
Now we're going out on those sea kayaks that I told you about. Those islands, many of them, because they're limestone, they have caves in them, and the caves are at sea level, so that you can sail into the caves on the sea kayaks. And these islands frequently have a lagoon in the center, and you can sail sometimes all the way through to the lagoon. Now, a lot of companies do that. They explore these limestone caves during the day, where you can only enter them by canoe, and then only when the tide is just exactly right. But when the other tour operators leave from the caves and go down for the day, the John Gray Sea Canoe is out getting started, and then after dark, when things really get mystical, that's when they go out and they explore some of the same places that they explored in the daylight. They're going out with two ships today, and something unusual. John Gray is going with us. Now, John Gray doesn't usually go on the tour anymore, but this time is a little different. He's got a professional film crew with him, and I don't know whether they're filming him for a documentary or whether he's working up some kind of promotional film. But in any case, there's heavy camera work being done here. Some of these islands are inhabited by macaque monkeys. These are long-tailed macaques like the ones that we saw in other places. This happens to be part of a troop of about 10 on this particular island. The guides were kidding us about the monkeys. They said that the monkeys saw the kayaks, the big yellow sea kayaks, and they thought bananas, and that's what brought them down. But in fact, I suspect that a lot of people do feed the macaques, and so they probably do associate the kayaks with bananas. We're going into one of the caves now. It's going to be quite dark on the inside, and it's going to be difficult to shoot any footage at all. On the other side, of course, where we come out, will be on a lagoon in the center of the island. There are bats up in the ceiling, and the crew recommend that if you look up in the ceiling, you not open your mouth, or something salty might drop into it.
Don't open your mouth, okay? Don't open your mouth. You got to be careful from the back.
Finally, you start coming out the other side of the cave into the lagoon in the center of the island. One of the most common types of inhabitants of these islands is crabs. There must be hundreds of thousands of them. Well, the only way to get back to the ship now is to go back the same way we came, through the Bat Cave. While I was concentrating on getting some video footage of the crabs, the guide behind us saw something. And he yelled out, "Crocodile, crocodile," and I didn't know whether he meant there was a stone formation that looked like a crocodile, or if it was a real crocodile, or what it was. But I spun around and tried to get a picture of it. This is what I saw.
You see him moving?
I not only see him moving, I'm getting the picture.
Oh, sweet.
And it's not a... No.
No crocodile.
No.
Let's see that again in slow motion. You can see that the animal's clearly not a crocodile because the snout is not long enough. This is a large monitor lizard, probably about 6 feet long or so.
No. No crocodile. No.
If you think that these birds look like bald eagles, well, you're basically right. These are white-bellied sea eagles, and for as far as I can tell, they're basically the same thing, although a little bit smaller than our bald eagle. Oh, and one last movie, part of the Star Wars trilogy. This is part of the Clone Wars element of it, was shot using the landscapes of Phuket and the Andaman Sea.
Palpatine thinks General Grievous is on Utapau. Very well. Council adjourned.
And now for something different.
We're sending the kayaks out again to explore the islands, but this time it's at night. Those little dots of light that are out there, those are candles that we're using instead of lanterns or flashlights. On the other side of the bay, there's a little city by the name of Krabi. And Krabi has something unusual. It's the traffic lights that happen to be in the city. I want you to take a close look at these traffic lights and see if you see anything unusual. I believe what you're going to be seeing will be downright surprising. What that appears to be is that the traffic light is being held up by an ape man. About 10 years ago, some skeletons were discovered in this neighborhood, and they were 34 million year old Australopithecines, and they gave them the name Siamopithecus, and that is what these traffic lights are supposed to be representing, what people won't do in order to attract visitors.